The door creaked open like a thunderclap in the quiet of my soul. And there he was, Oliver. My rock, my shadow, my unspoken everything, framed in the golden haze of late afternoon sun spilling through the blinds of my cramped Brooklyn walk-up. I stood half-naked, towel slipping from my waist after a scalding shower that had done nothing to wash away the ache in my chest. And in that split second, his eyes met mine not with the casual flick of friendship, but with a hunger that mirrored the storm raging inside me. Time fractured. The world narrowed to the heat rising between us. And I knew, with a certainty that terrified me, that we just crossed a line neither of us could uncross. It had always been us against the chaos of New York, two kids from nowhere scraping by in a city that chewed up dreams and spat out survivors. Oliver and I met freshman year at NYU, bonded over late-night ramen, and shared cynicism about the world. Him with his easy laugh that could disarm a room, me with my sketches that captured the grit of the streets in charcoal strokes. He was the teacher in training, already dreaming of classrooms where words could change lives. I was the aspiring graphic designer, hustling freelance gigs to pay for paints and rent. We crashed on each other's futons through breakups, job losses, the endless grind, whispering secrets under the covers like they were lifelines. But lately, those whispers had grown heavier, laced with pauses that stretched too long, touches that lingered on shoulders or arms, electric under the guise of bromance. That afternoon, though, was different. I'd come home from a soul-crushing client meeting, some corporate logo that screamed conformity, my skin still buzzing from the subway's press of strangers. Oliver had a key. Of course, he'd been crashing more often since his latest roommate drama, the one involving a girl who couldn't see past his nice guy facade. I stripped without thinking, the steam from the bathroom fogging the mirror, my mind replaying the way he'd looked at me over coffee that morning, his knee brushing mine under the diner table. Accidental but not. The towel hit the floor just as the door swung in, and there he was, backpack slung over one shoulder, tie loosened like he'd fled a lesson on Shakespeare that hit too close to home. Alex, his voice cracked, low and rough, like gravel under tires. He didn't move, didn't blink, his gaze tracing the lines of my body, the faint scar from a childhood bike crash on my hip. The tattoo of a compass rose on my ribs that I'd gotten on a dare during a road trip we took upstate. I should have grabbed the towel, yelled something stupid to shatter the tension. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because in his eyes, I saw it, the same secret I'd buried under layers of denial. The pull that had kept me up nights, wondering if friendship was just a pretty word for fear. Sorry, man, he finally muttered, but his feet stayed rooted, and his cheeks flushed that deep crimson that always betrayed him. He dropped his bag with a thud that echoed in my ears, stepping inside and kicking the door shut behind him. The lock clicked like a vow. I thought you were at the studio. Early out. My throat was dry, words scraping out as I snatched the towel, wrapping it around my waist too late. Too obviously. The air between us thickened, charged like the sky before a blackout, and I could smell his cologne, sandalwood and rain, mixing with the clean soap on my skin. We were inches apart now, the bedroom a cage of our own making, posters of indie bands curling at the edges on the walls. My drafting table cluttered with half-finished designs that suddenly seemed trivial. He ran a hand through his curls, exhaling sharply. You look good. I mean, shit. That came out wrong. A nervous laugh bubbled up, but it died quick. replaced by something rawer. His hand twitched, like he wanted to reach out, to trace the water droplets still beating on my shoulder. Alex, we need to talk. My heart hammered against my ribs. A wild bird trapped in a too small space. Talk? About what? The way his text had turned flirty. Emojis that lingered like invitations. The bar nights where we danced too close. Bodies sinking to bass drops that drown out reason. Or the deeper ache. The one where I'd lie awake listening to his breathing beside me. Wishing for the courage to roll over and close the gap. Yeah, I whispered. Voice barely above the hum of traffic outside. We do. He closed the distance then, slow as if testing gravity. His fingers brushing my arm, light, tentative, but enough to send sparks skittering across my skin. Up close, his eyes were storms of blue, flecked with gold, holding questions I'd been too scared to answer. I've been fighting this, he said, his breath warm against my neck. Telling myself it's the city, the stress, anything but us. But seeing you like this, it's like a punch to the gut. Real. Undeniable. I swallowed hard, the towel feeling like the thinnest armor. Oliver, if we do this, we already have. His lips crashed into mine then. Not gentle, but desperate. Tasting of mint gum and unspoken years. My hands found his shirt, fisting the fabric, pulling him closer as the world tilted. It was messy, all teeth and urgency, the kind of kiss that rewrites your history. When we broke apart, gasping, foreheads pressed together, I felt the dam break inside me, the fear, the longing, flooding out in a rush that left me trembling. But New York doesn't pause for revelations. That night, we tangled in sheets that smelled of laundry detergent and possibility, exploring each other with the reverence of explorers charting unknown lands. His body was familiar yet new, strong from weekend hikes, soft in places only I would know now. Whispers turned to moans, boundaries dissolving in the dark. And for the first time, I felt seen, not just as a friend, but as the man who'd loved him quietly since that first shared cigarette on a fire escape. Morning came too soon, coffee brewing as sunlight slanted across the kitchen counter. Oliver leaned against the fridge, mug in hand, his hair a glorious mess, wearing one of my old band tees that hung loose on his frame. Last night, he started, voice soft. It wasn't a mistake. But scary as hell. I nodded, stirring sugar into my cup, the spoon clinking like a metronome to my nerves. Yeah. What if it changes everything? The group chats, the barbecues with the gang, they all think we're just brothers. He set his mug down, crossing to me, his hand cupping my jaw with a tenderness that stole my breath. Maybe it should change. We've been hiding in plain sight too long. His thumb traced my lower lip, reigniting the fire from hours before. I want this. Alex. You. Us. But we gotta be smart. Smart. In a city where rainbow flags flew proud, but judgments still whispered in boardrooms and family calls. Smart meant caution. Oliver had his teaching job on the line, suburban parents who clutched pearls at anything outside their picket fences. I had clients who might balk at a designer who didn't fit their straight-laced mold. Yet as we kissed again, slower this time, savoring the promise, I felt a spark of defiance. This was our story now, not theirs. The weeks blurred into a secret symphony. Stolen glances across crowded rooms at our friend Sarah's gallery opening, where I designed the invites and he'd charm the crowd with stories from his classroom. Fingers brushing under diner booths, knees knocking in movie theaters. The thrill of almost building to nights where we'd collapse into each other, laughing at the absurdity of it all. Remember that time in college when we skinny dipped in the Hudson? He'd murmur against my skin, his laughter vibrating through me. Felt like freedom. This feels like that, times 1,000, but freedom has teeth. It started small, a coworker of mine, Jake, catching the way Oliver's hand lingered on my back during a pickup basketball game in the park. "You two seem cozy," he said later over beers, eyebrow arched in that knowing way that made my stomach twist. I brushed it off with a laugh, blaming the heat, but the seed was planted. Doubt crept in like fog off the East River, making me pull back just enough to breathe. Oliver noticed. Of course. He always did. One rainy Tuesday, he showed up at my studio unannounced, drenched from the downpour, his button-up clinging transparently to his chest. "Talk to me," he demanded, water pooling at his feet as he shrugged off his jacket. The space was a chaos of sketches and screens. My latest project, a campaign for a queer youth hotline, staring accusingly from the wall. I paced, the fluorescent hum overhead mocking my turmoil. What if we fuck this up? You're killing it at school, molding minds, and I'm finally landing gigs that matter. One wrong move, and poof, back to square one. He caught my wrist, pulling me close, rain-scented and steady. "We're not fragile, Alex. We're survivors." His kiss was fierce, grounding, reminding me of the man who'd held my hand through my dad's cancer scare last year, who'd driven through blizzards to get me home. In that moment, wrapped in his arms amid the clutter of my dreams, I remembered why we'd lasted, not despite the world, but because of each other. Yet the world has a way of testing resolve. It escalated at our annual Friendsgiving bash, the apartment bursting with laughter and turkey smells, fairy lights twinkling like stars in the November chill. Our crew, Sarah with her paint-splattered overalls, Mike the tech bro nursing IPAs, Lena the lawyer quoting case law over pie, filled the space with the easy chaos of family, not by blood. Oliver and I played it cool, passing dishes with winks hidden in plain sight. But the air hummed with our secret, electric and alive. Then Mike, 3 beers deep, slung an arm around Oliver's shoulders, slurring, "You two are like an old married couple. When you gonna make it official?" The room erupted in chuckles, but I froze, fork midway to my mouth, the cranberry sauce suddenly bitter. Oliver's smile faltered, just a flicker, but enough to send ice through my veins. He recovered with a joke about my cooking skills, deflecting like a pro. But later, as we washed dishes side by side, his voice was tight. "That hit too close. Yeah, I admitted, scrubbing a pot harder than necessary." Suds foamed over my hands, mirroring the bubble of anxiety in my gut. People notice. And noticing means questions. He dried a plate. Movements precise. Teacher habit. I'm ready to answer them. With you, his eyes met mine over the steam, fierce and unyielding. But only if you are. The question hung there, heavier than the feast we'd just devoured. Was I, the boy who'd grown up in a small Ohio town, where gay was a slur whispered in locker rooms, the one who'd fled to New York chasing reinvention? Could he step into the light? That night, after the last guest stumbled out into the cold, we lay entwined on the couch, The TV flickering some forgotten rom-com. Oliver's head on my chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my stomach. "I love you," he whispered, the words slipping out like a confession long rehearsed. My heart stuttered, then soared. "I love you too." Saying it aloud was a key turning in a lock I'd rusted shut. We made love there, slow and deliberate, the city lights painting our skin in neon promises. For the first time, fear felt smaller than hope. But hope is a fragile flame, and winter winds blow fierce in Brooklyn. December brought snowdrifts and deadlines, my portfolio swelling with queer advocacy work that fed my soul but drew prying eyes. Oliver's school holiday party loomed, a glittering affair at some midtown hotel, the kind where faculty spouses networked and whispers spread like confetti. "Come as my plus one," he urged one evening, snowflakes melting on his lashes as we walked home from holiday market, bags of ornaments swinging between us. I hesitated, breath fogging in the chill. "Your colleagues. They don't know. Neither do yours." He stopped under a street lamp, haloed in amber, pulling me close. "But I want them to. Us to." No more shadows. The party was a whirlwind of velvet dresses and bow ties, champagne flutes clinking like chimes. Oliver shone, introducing me as Alex, my partner, the genius behind those killer designs you've seen in the lounge. Heads turned, smiles polite but probing, and I felt exposed, raw, like a sketch left unfinished on the table. An older professor cornered us by the dessert table, her voice syrupy sweet. "Oliver, darling, you never mentioned this." Her gaze flicked to me, appraising, and though she congratulated us, the undercurrent lingered, judgment wrapped in civility. In the cab home, snow swirling past the windows, Oliver deflated against the seat. "She'll gossip. By Monday, it'll be faculty lounge fodder." I took his hand, cold fingers intertwining. "Let them talk. We're real. That's what matters." But reality bites back. Monday brought the backlash, not overt, but insidious. Oliver texted from school, meeting with principal. "Tread carefully." My stomach nodded as I stared at my screen. A new client email glowing, "Love the work," but toned down the personal flair for our family brand. The world was reminding us, love like ours was tolerated, but only on tiptoe. That night, he came over shattered. "Ty ask you." Eyes red-rimmed. "They didn't fire me," he said, collapsing onto the bed. "But the subtext? It's clear. Be discreet, like we're some scandal." His voice broke, and mine would have too if anger hadn't surged first. "Fuck that." I pulled him into my lap, holding him as sobs shook his frame, the boy who'd recited poetry to calm my nightmares now unraveling in my arms. "You're the best damn teacher they have. They don't get to dictate your heart." We clung through the dark hours, his tears soaking my shirt, my whispers weaving promises. By dawn, resolve hardened. "We fight this," he murmured, chin lifted, fire rekindled. Together, the fight began quietly, a blog post I penned for an indie mag. Anonymous at first, chronicling the terror of hidden love in plain sight. It went viral in queer circles, shares rippling like stones in a pond. Oliver followed with a subtle shift in his lesson plans, introducing Baldwin and Wolfe not as relics, but as mirrors for his students' hidden selves. Whispers turned to support. A colleague emailed Oliver, Saw the article. Proud you both. Snow melted into slush, and with it, some of the chill. Spring unfurled tentative. Cherry blossoms dusting Washington Square like confetti for our rebirth. We came out properly then, no fanfare. Just truths told over brunches and bar stools. Sarah hugged us fierce. Mike cracked jokes to hide his surprise. Lena offered legal advice with a wink. Family calls were harder, my mom's voice trembling over the line from Ohio. As long as you're happy. Baby, laced with unspoken grief for the wedding she'd imagined. Oliver's folks, progressive Californians, sent a care package of rainbow mugs and a letter that read like absolution. Yet climax brewed in summer's heat, a storm we'd ignored too long. Oliver's principal called a closed-door meeting, citing parent concerns after a student, out and proud, thanked him publicly for making it okay to be me. The room was sterile, fluorescent harsh. The man behind the desk, all starch collar and false concern. Oliver, you're exemplary, but optics matter. Consider a transfer to the arts magnet, safer ground. Oliver's jaw set, the poet in him rising. Safer? For who? My students need to see love that doesn't hide. If that's a problem, maybe this isn't the place for me. I waited outside, heart pounding like a bass drum. And when he emerged, face thunderous but unbroken, I pulled him into the stairwell, kissing him fierce against the cool concrete. What now? I asked, breathless. We build our own place. His smile was a blade, sharp and sure. We quit on our terms, him for a nonprofit tutoring gig in the village, me launching a studio focused on queer creators. The apartment swelled with canvases and books, our lives intertwining like vines on a trellis. Fall painted the city gold, and on our anniversary, that fateful door swing, we stood on the Brooklyn Bridge at dusk, winds whipping scarves, the skyline a testament to endurance. I walked in on you changing everything, Oliver said, his hand warm in mine, rings glinting, simple bands we'd exchanged in a quiet ceremony with friends under the oaks. And I'd do it again, I replied, pulling him close. In that moment, with the river rushing below and stars pricking the sky, I knew love isn't the absence of storm, but the courage to dance in the rain. We'd changed everything. Yes, but for the better. Raw and real. A story worth every scar.